Day 147, en route to Mars. Dr. Ryan Cross floated through the narrow corridor of the Ares One, his fingers tracing the cold metal wall as he moved towards the observation module. 5 months into a 7-month journey, and he still hadn't gotten used to microgravity. The spacecraft hummed around him, a constant, reassuring vibration of life support systems, air recyclers, and the ion propulsion engines pushing them towards Mars at 39,000 kilometers per hour. He reached the observation window and stopped, magnetic boots clicking into position on the floor grating. Mars. Still just a reddish point of light, but growing larger each day. In 2 months, he'd be standing on its surface, the first geologist to study Martian terrain in person. The thought still gave him chills. Cross, you in the OBS module? Captain Reed's voice crackled through the comm system. Ryan pressed the response panel. Yeah, Captain. Just checking on our approach angle. Crew meeting in the gallery in 10 minutes. Full attendance. Copy that. Ryan took one last look at Mars before pushing off towards the central hub. Crew meetings weren't unusual. They had them weekly to maintain morale and discuss mission objectives. But something in Reed's tone felt different. Tense. The gallery was the largest open space on Ares 1, though large was relative. 7 people could fit comfortably if everyone stayed strapped into their seats around the central table. Ryan was the last to arrive. The others were already there. Captain Reed at the head, his weathered face unreadable, Yuki Tanaka checking something on her tablet, Sergei Volkov drumming his fingers on the table in a nervous habit of his, Dr. Okoya reviewing medical readouts. Elena Ruse looked worried, her usual bright demeanor subdued. And Thomas Harlow, the mechanical engineer, calm as always. He nodded at Ryan as he strapped in. Good, we're all here, Reed said. I'll get straight to it. 30 minutes ago, we received a priority transmission from Mission Control. He activated the central display. A message appeared, text only. Priority alert, Mission Control to Ares 1. We have received credible intelligence that one crew member is a corporate saboteur. Mission objective, prevent Mars landing at all costs. Identity, unknown. Investigate immediately. Do not alert the subduer. Authentication code, Delta 7 9er Alpha. Mission Control, out. Silence. Reed read it twice, his mind struggling to process the words. That has to be a mistake, Elena said finally. A prank. Someone hacked the transmission. Authentication code checks out, Sergei says quietly, looking up from his tablet. This came from Houston. It's real. Real? Yuki's voice was sharp. You're saying one of us is trying to sabotage the mission? That's what the message says, Reed replied evenly. This is insane, Dr. Okoya said. We've been together for 5 months. We trained together for 2 years before that. If someone wanted to sabotage the mission, they'd have plenty of opportunities. Maybe they're waiting for a specific window, Thomas suggested, his British accent calm and measured. Close to Mars, more critical systems in play, higher stakes. Everyone looked at him. I'm just saying, he continued. If I wanted to sabotage a Mars mission, I wouldn't do it during cruise phase when we could still abort and return to Earth. I'd wait until we were committed, until turning back wasn't an option. Jesus, Thomas, Elena muttered. He has a point, Reed said. We're approaching Mars orbital insertion in 8 weeks. That's when systems will be under maximum stress. Life support at capacity, navigation critical. If someone wanted to ensure mission failure, they'd strike soon, Ryan finished. Another silence, this one heavier. So, what do we do? Yuki asked. Reed looked at each of them in turn. We investigate, quietly. We review all system logs, check maintenance records, monitor communications, and we watch each other. You're asking us to spy on each other? Sergei said. I'm asking us to survive, Reed countered. If there's a saboteur on this ship, we need to identify them before they can make their move. Understood? Reluctant nods around the table. Good. Dismissed. And no one, absolutely no one, discuss this outside of this room unless it's with me directly. Ryan stayed behind as the others filed out. Reed was shutting down the display when he noticed. Something on your mind, Cross? Do you believe it? The message? Reed sighed, rubbing his eyes. Honestly, I don't know. But I can't afford not to believe it. This crew, this mission, it's worth $2 trillion in contracts, mineral rights, and future colonization efforts. There are a lot of corporations that would benefit from us failing. Space tech, Ryan said. They're 6 months behind us. If we fail, they become the first to Mars. They get the contracts, the glory, everything. Reed looked at him seriously. So yeah, I believe someone might be desperate enough to plant a saboteur. The question is, who? You have any suspicions? Everyone. No one. It could be any of us. Even you. Even me. Ryan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air recycling system. Get some rest, Reed said, and keep your eyes open. Day 148. Ryan couldn't sleep. He floated in his sleeping pod, staring at the curved ceiling inches from his face, running through the crew in his mind. Captain Reed, veteran astronaut, 3 prior missions, impeccable record. But he had the most authority, the most access. Yuki Tanaka, mission specialist, brilliant engineer, conducted more EVAs than anyone. She could sabotage external systems during a spacewalk. Sergei Volkov, avionics expert, controlled navigation and communications. He could send them off course or cut their contact with Earth. Dr. Okoye, physician, access to medications, sedatives. She could put the whole crew to sleep if she wanted to. Elena Ruiz, botanist, managed the food production systems. Contamination would be easy. Thomas Harlow, mechanical engineer, maintained life support, oxygen, water, thermal control. He literally kept them alive. Then there's me. My first space mission, Mars terrain specialist. Any of them could be a saboteur. All of them could be innocent. Ryan's table chimed. A message from Thomas. Can't sleep either? Meet me in engineering. Want to run diagnostics on the O2 recyclers. Could use a second pair of eyes. Ryan hesitated. Thomas had access to everything. If he was a saboteur, but that was paranoia talk. Thomas was offering to check critical systems. That was responsible. Necessary. Ryan typed back. On my way. Engineering was a maze of pipes, conduits, and monitoring stations. Thomas was already there, floating near the primary oxygen recycling unit, his tablet displaying real-time data streams. Thanks for coming, he said without looking up. I've been checking the logs since the meeting. Want to see if anything's been tampered with. Find anything? Nothing obvious, but that's what worries me. If someone's good enough to get planted on this mission, they're good enough to cover their tracks. Ryan pulled himself over to the secondary monitoring station. What am I looking for? Anomalies, unexpected maintenance, system resets, anything that doesn't fit the normal pattern. They worked in silence for 20 minutes, reviewing 5 months of data. Here, Ryan suddenly. 3 weeks ago, the water reclamation system went offline for 42 minutes. Thomas floated over, checking the entry. Scheduled maintenance. I did it myself. Replaced a filter that was showing early degradation. Early degradation? That's unusual, right? These filters are rated for 8 months. Thomas frowned, scrolling through the details. You're right. It failed at 5 months. I chalked it up to manufacturing variance, but he pulled up more data. The degradation pattern is odd, almost like chemical exposure. Could someone have contaminated deliberately? Maybe, but why? The backup systems kicked in immediately. No one even noticed except me. What if it was a test? Ryan suggested, to see if they could sabotage water reclamation without getting caught. Thomas met his eyes. Then they succeeded. Before Ryan could respond, an alarm shrieked through the ship. Red emergency lights flooded engineering. Thomas grabbed his tablet, his face going pale. Pressure dropped in Module C. Rapid decompression detected. That's the sleep pods, Ryan said, his stomach dropping. They both launched themselves toward the corridor. Thomas already on comms. Reed, we have a pressure emergency in Module C. Sealing bulkhead doors now. Reed's voice came back tense. I'm in Module C. Oiko's pod won't close. The seal mechanism is jammed. Ryan and Thomas reached the module entrance just as the automatic bulkhead door began to close. Standard safety protocol to prevent the whole ship from losing pressure. Through the narrow gate, Ryan could see Dr. Okoye struggling with her sleeping pod, the door panel sparking, her face showing the first signs of hypoxia as the air vented through a breach somewhere in the module. Reed was trying to manually override the pod door, but it wouldn't budge. Thomas, he shouted, I need you to... The bulkhead door sealed shut with a pneumatic hiss, cutting them off. Ryan pounded on the door. Captain! Okoye! Thomas was already at the control panel, fingers flying across the screen. I can't open the bulkhead without venting the entire ship. The pressure differential is too high. There has to be something. I'm trying. Thomas's usual calm was cracking. Wait, I can reroute emergency oxygen to Module C. Slow the pressure loss, but I need to find the breach point first. He pulled up a schematic of Module C, showing pressure readings across different sections. There, Ryan pointed. External hull breach near Okoya's pod. Micrometeorite impact. Possibly. Or, Thomas didn't finish the sentence. He initiated the emergency oxygen feed. On the monitor, they could see the pressure in Module C beginning to stabilize, though still well below safe levels. Reed's voice came through strained. Harlow, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Okoya's unconscious but breathing. I've got an emergency O2 mask. Copy that, Captain. Pressure stabilizing at 62%. You need to get her to the medical bay. Working on it. 5 agonizing minutes later, the pressure equalized enough for Thomas to safely open the bulkhead. Reed emerged carrying Dr. Okoya's limp form, an emergency oxygen mask over her face. Elena appeared from the galley, eyes wide. What happened? Get the medical bay ready, Reed ordered, pushing past her. Yuki and Sergei arrived moments later, both in various states of undress, clearly woken by the alarms. Module C is offline, Thomas told them. Hull breach and a jammed pod seal. Dr. Okoya suffered hypoxia, but she's breathing. We don't know the extent of the damage until she wakes up. How did this happen? Yuki demanded. Thomas and Ryan exchanged a glance. I don't know, Thomas said carefully, but I'm going to find out. Day 149. Dr. Okoya woke up 16 hours later with a severe headache and temporary memory loss. Reed had moved her to the medical bay, keeping her under observation. Thomas had spent those 16 hours analyzing the hull breach and the pod seal malfunction. The crew gathered in the galley again. This time, no one looked relaxed. Report, Reed said to Thomas. The hull breach was caused by a micrometeorite impact, Thomas began. 5mm diameter. Unlucky hit in a vulnerable section. That part's not suspicious. We've had 3 similar impacts during the voyage, all sealed automatically with emergency foam. But, Yuki prompted. But this one didn't seal automatically because the emergency foam dispensers in that section had been disabled. Someone manually overrode the safety protocols 3 days ago. Silence. And the pod seal? Sergei asked quietly. Sabotage. Someone removed a critical component from the locking mechanism. It was designed to jam when pressure dropped. Dr. Okoya couldn't have escaped even if she'd been cautious and trying. Are you saying someone tried to kill her? Elena's voice was barely a whisper. I'm saying someone created a situation where a micrometeorite impact, something that happens regularly and gets handled automatically, became lethal. Thomas looked around the table. This wasn't random. This was planned. Reed's face was carved from stone. The message was real. We have a saboteur, and they just tried to kill one of us. Who had access to those systems? Yuki demanded. All of us, Thomas said. Those controls aren't restricted. Anyone with basic engineering knowledge could have done it. But you'd notice, Sergei argued. You check those systems regularly. I do scheduled checks, but I can't monitor everything every minute, and whoever did this knew exactly when and where to make the modifications to avoid my inspection cycles. So someone with detailed knowledge of your maintenance schedule, Reed concluded. Thomas nodded slowly. Someone who's been paying close attention. Ryan had been quiet, his mind working through the implications. They're escalating. First the water filter, a test. Now this, attempted murder. They're getting bolder. Or more desperate, Elena suggested. Maybe they're running out of time. 8 weeks until Mars orbital insertion, Reed said. If they want to stop this mission, that's their deadline. So what do? Yuki asked. Reed stood. From now on, no one works alone. Buddy system for all maintenance and critical operations. We review all system logs daily, and we watch each other. Closely. He looked at each of them in turn. One of us is trying to kill the rest, and we have 8 weeks to figure out who before they succeed. Ryan found Thomas in engineering again that night, going through maintenance logs with obsessive detail. Can't stop thinking about it either? Ryan asked. Thomas looked up, exhaustion evident in his eyes. I keep running through everyone in my head, trying to figure out who. Any theories? Too many, not enough. He gestured at the screens around them. I've designed redundancies for equipment failure, micrometeorite impacts, solar radiation, but I never planned for one of us being the threat. None of us did. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Oikoyo almost died. If I hadn't rerouted oxygen when I did, if Reed hadn't been in Module C to help her, he shook his head. Next time, we not might be so lucky. You think there'll be a next time? I know there will. They failed. They'll try again, and they'll be smarter about it. Ryan felt the weight of that truth settle over him. Somewhere on the ship, one of their crewmates was planning murder, and they had no idea who.